welcome to Dad's Not Always on Wrestling. It's
Holy
Friday,
crap.
and you know what that means on the Jeff Meacham Network. At least every other Friday still, because damn it, homeboy over here has been on hiatus, but you know what? He's back in the saddle full time with us, at least for Fridays, because we can't all the other shit way before that aired in December. So, because, that's what we do on this show. We're actually canning this in not even December yet. So there you go. Anyway, and we've got, a topic that we came together on, but I will give you full credit as I always do. You really spearheaded the entire 2022 list for us here on the Dads Not Always on Wrestling. So I commend you, and we're starting off with a doozy because this was kind of a bitch to think of.
Well, I will take some of the credit for the list because I know a lot of the topics, especially the non-wrestling ones, you kind of piggybacked off of stuff that I was going to be doing on my shows.
True that. So
it was like, well, if he's going to be talking about this for 30 days, how can we tie that into an episode of Dads?
Right.
So, I'll take a little bit of credit, but you gotta give the genius that is JM a little bit of credit for figuring out how to tie the wrestling topics in as well.
Well,
and today's is a doozy because we're talking about celebrity moments that did not happen at WrestleMania.
Yes.
And you got to think about it. You're like, well, what celebrity moments are there really? Well, you're going to come. We've got a few that are similar. We've got a couple that are the same because we've already pre-discussed this list.
Yes.
Full disclosure, yesterday evening before we came into the studio today, we were just BSing and kind of going back and forth about it. And we were like, you know what? F it. I'm going to share my list with you this time.
Exactly.
And I thought I did a good job. But as always, when you can get that little word of encouragement from the wrestling professor, the West Coast professor, it just gives you that proverbial pat on the back. If we can insert the Zach and Slater gif here,
Well, I mean, we are talking about celebrities and wrestling, and WWE and Peacock are the same company. So what the hell? Why not? We'll
plus
do the gif in there later if we can.
For this was in honor of Dustin Diamond's birthday, who just passed away last February. Yeah. And of course, Dustin Diamond was involved in the Hulk Hogan celebrity wrestling shtick that he tried and failed miserably because Rodman won, and like there wasn't collusion going on there, Mr. NWO himself showing that it is always for life.
Well, of course.
Like as soon as Rodman entered that fray, everyone should have known, okay, this is staged. Rodman is totally going over big time here because what else is he doing now?
So wait, you're saying reality TV involving wrestling was predetermined and staged? The hell you say, sir? Blasphemy, I say.
Which just makes you wonder why Ashley Massaro didn't win that year of Survivor. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah. But what's funny about Dustin is that not only did he compete on the Hogan thing, he also actually wrestled in Memphis for a while. He went the Andy Kaufman route for a while there and was messing with Lawler. It's like, do these damn comedians not understand? Don't mess with royalty.
They get it. And, again, we're pre-taping this. It's not even December, like Jeff said. While we're talking about Dustin, who was kind of the inspiration for this all, did you see the little tribute scene from the reboot of Saved by the Bell?
I did. It was, it's very rare that particular reboot gets me to get the warm fuzzies and the tears, but damn it all.
I've legit got a tear that's like hanging on here about to fall, thinking about having watched that scene. I watched it like 2 or 3 times in a row.
Yeah, it's
because it was just so tasteful and well done. Those of you that haven't seen it, look up the Saved by the Bell reboot. Watch the episode. I can't speak for the full episode, but I have seen the clip on YouTube. It's like 2 minutes. And essentially, the game is all back at the Max. Max himself comes up to serve them a brand new creation to the menu, the spaghetti Screech burger, which is everybody remembers Screech's spaghetti sauce episode, where Salil Moonfry, Punky Brewster herself, tried to cozy up to Screech because he was going to be rich all of a sudden. Kevin, Screech's robot from the early episodes, is the waiter and brings the plates out for Max.
Oh my God,
as
dude.
soon as I saw that, I was like, Kevin, yes!
Acknowledge him! The hell with Roman Reigns, acknowledge Kevin!
And then, they're tasting this burger, which of course is going to taste weird and different because it's spaghetti on a burger. But
well,
they say it themselves in the clip. It's weird, just like Screech. And then Zach leads them in a toast with the burgers out to Screech. And again, I actually posted this on the clip on YouTube. It's like, say what you will about Mark Paul, Mario, and all of them behind the scenes and how they may have treated Dustin and how Dustin responded to that, causing the rift. It only made sense for Zach, his best buddy, to lead the toast.
I will always remember that episode with just the slogan, the saucer you can have, but the secret she's a mine. It's like we never really knew all the secrets behind the scenes of Saved by the Bell or in Dustin's, life in general. And it was very unfortunate that we lost him last year. And when the topics were coming up in my head and the dates were being finalized, like, okay, we've got this date. We have a topic that we can use. How do we? Okay, it's Dustin's birthday, celebrity moments in wrestling. But it's not WrestleMania season, so we need to take it outside of March and April, as best we can anyway. Yes. And like you said, we went over the list. It's funny. It's one of those where, when we know each other's lists and I give you the praise, usually you're very quick to tell me, here's mine. Now here's Jeff knocking out of the park. I think you sent yours further over the wall than mine did because I completely forgot 2 of yours. I was like, well, I feel like a bad fan. So there you go. But
that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy, sir. So without any further ado,
yes,
let's get into this here, shall we?
Yes, sir.
So my number 10 to kick us off is definitely a moment. There wasn't really any groundwork that I can recall, granted it was before my fandom, that really led to this. And there was no real fallout as a result of this.
Okay.
It was just a special ringside enforcer, if you will, back at the 1994 Survivor Series. Chuck Norris, baby. Coming out, which of course led to the epic moment. And yes, folks, we have some gifts for this one.
Oh, shit. Here we go.
Led to the epic moment where Chuck kicks the crap out of Double J there. And this was in the height of Walker, Texas Ranger. You can totally see by the way Chuck's coming out there with his denim button up and his jacket and his cowboy hat.
And they're in Texas, so
Walker, Texas Ranger was the bomb. I was never the biggest Chuck Norris fan. I love Sidekicks. That is my favorite film he ever did. Rest in peace, Jonathan Brandis.
Yes.
But then you've also got the lovely Winnie Cooper, Danica McKellar in it.
Yes.
I believe it's Beau Bridges plays his father in the movie.
Sounds right.
So good. For me growing up at my time, Sidekicks was my shit.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's this dorky, asthmatic, kid who can never amount to much of anything because of everything going on wrong with him, who just aspires to be like Chuck Norris. And he often has these daydreams that he's popping up in the movies next to Chuck Norris, helping him in all of his great movies. So when he decides to enter martial arts and enter a tournament a la Daniel LaRusso, and then his team is one short, and the special guest at the tournament just so happens to be Chuck Norris, he ends up joining their team to be their fourth, because the guy that did not want to train him, which, if I'm remembering correctly, was Joe Piscopo.
Sounds about right, knowing Joe.
Chuck Norris and him had heat like back in the day, movie-wise. So he wants to give it to him because of his lack of desire. And man, it's just this great family film.
Definitely.
If you've never seen Sidekicks, look it up. It's really hard to find on DVD. I have seen it on YouTube in its entirety, free to view, not one of those pay to watch.
Right.
So check it out. But yeah, Chuck Norris Survivor Series. That's where I started off. That's where I kick this list off.
So for the record, you started with the Jeff Jarrett clip. This portion of the show is brought to you by My World. Hey now. Anyway.
We're going to get back to Double J a little bit later, because he's going to pop up a couple more times on my list. Connie, seriously, you just need to start.
Conrad, pony up, man. Come on. I'm just saying.
It's not like you can't afford it. You're a nature boy in-law, for real.
Seriously, you have 7 podcasts and you're a mortgage broker. Throw me a bone here, Connie. I'm begging you.
You know, at least like WWE used to do for ECW when they took Too Cold Scorpio, you know, $1,000 a week for what we're losing from the Tommy Boy money, you know. If you know, you know.
That's $52,000. That's more than I'm making. $52,000 a year. I'll take that. You kidding me? Shit. Absolutely.
Number 9 on my list is one of those moments that Jeff had completely forgotten about when I ran it through. Samuel L. Jackson as Shaft on SmackDown.
Damn right.
Promoting the Shaft 2000 movie, helping Crash Holly as Patterson and Briscoe are trying to chase him down for Briscoe's hardcore title.
Yes.
When Crash approaches Shaft for assistance, he's even like, man, have you asked the APA? Like, he's throwing out all these other suggestions, and it's just finally Shaft gives in to the little guy and helps him. So when Patterson and Briscoe come in there, you know, have you seen a guy about this tall? Looks like Elroy Jetson. Shaft comes to his aid, man. He stands up real quick, like, you know, who the F are you, man? Back up. Great stuff, man. Sam Jackson was already a name at that point, thanks to Pulp Fiction, but that was on the trajectory that was like turning him from a superstar into megastar. Well, and there was that little stop that if you watched and you remembered, you remembered.
You remember. All I know is the year before the Shaft movie premiered, he became part of the Star Wars universe, which made him an ultimate bad mother effer. Let's just throw that out there. His lightsaber Shaft even said so. So I'm just saying. And note that they put Sam on SmackDown, the tape show. Can't have Sam Jackson have a live mic.
Oh no.
They know better. USA's be like, okay, how many motherfuckers are we gonna get here tonight? Let's just go ahead and call it. Okay, sorry in advance. Had the beeps ready. So SmackDown was the place for Shaft. Damn straight.
SmackDown was the show then. It was the Rock's show. It was the people's show.
It was.
And what's the A show now? SmackDown, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the bloodline. Coincidence? Methinks not.
Well, you know, they say that Roman Reigns is a bad mother, you know.
Yeah. Number 8 on my list is from everybody's favorite president. Donald Trump buys and then resells Raw to and from Vince McMahon for twice the amount of money. This turned into the very first 3-hour commercial-free Raw, and it launched the special guest host era, which ran for at least a year, if not closer to 2 after that.
It was consistent for about a year, and then it kind of went sporadically after that. But it maintained for a while. There was some good, and then there was Jeremy Piven. So anyway,
who does not make my list. No, that doesn't make my list. But say what you will about Trump outside of the world of wrestling. We know Jeff will. He has gone ad nauseum about the way he feels about the mop-headed, comb-overed Oompa Loompa.
Huge issues.
But inside of the world of professional wrestling, Trump's contributions cannot be denied.
No.
Between hosting WrestleMania 2 years in a row, the match, Lashley versus Umaga, hair versus hair, this, allowing Vince and crew to come on to The Apprentice to do a task. Yep. The people that wanted to be The Apprentice had to do a WWE themed task, and having them on the show to get them over there. Trump and the wrestling has always kind of gone hand in hand. Again, say what you will about him as a president, but we're not talking about his presidency. We're talking about celebrity moments in wrestling. And if you pay close attention, you can even see Trump Raw on the little microphones there that Vince is holding, which I know had to be killing Vince McMahon to be holding something that's branded Trump.
Do me a favor. For disclosure, this actually is on my list, believe it or not. But go ahead and put their guys back up, because I have to point something out and just be mean to anybody but Trump in this case, because you're not letting me be mean to Trump. So I'm gonna go ahead and point it out. That kid there in the middle with the Cena AWA ripoff shirt, he's looking at the person next to him like, how bad is that guy's hair? Kid, you got no room to talk. Your hair is funky like a monkey, baby. Anyway, carry on. Ah, damn,
well,
kid, shut your mouth. Anyway, but yeah, again, I'll talk more about it later. But inside the world of wrestling, and at the end of the day, Donald Trump was able to make sure that Linda McMahon did not take the worst stunner in history. So bravo for him on that. We love him for that. Thank you, Donald, for saving Linda from a lifetime of scorning.
There you go. The next couple on my list come from the guest host era of Raw. Number 7 is an all-time favorite of not just mine, but Jeff's also. As a matter of fact, I was going back in the archives prior to filming this. And the celebrity involved in my number 7 pick actually came up 10 years ago as Jeff's number 1 Christmas special. Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, wow. How is that not on my viewing list this year? How did I screw that up? God, I'm just forgetting everything. Good grief. Anyway, I'm getting old.
But I mean, Paul Rubens had gone back to being Pee Wee after years of putting that gimmick behind him because of the incident at the adult movie theater.
Yes.
And he came out on Raw, and he was the guest host, and it was just a glorious thing to behold, because Pee Wee was back in full form. He took all of the energy that he had when he came out on that MTV Awards. Heard any good jokes lately? And Pee Wee was just back, baby. You had Pee Wee and Lita has said numerous times how much she loves Pee Wee Herman. You've got that interaction. I mean, the most electrifying man in Hollywood and Pee Wee Herman. You just can't get much better than that, really.
I look on Dwayne's face like, what'd you do? Like he caught him in the theater 30 years earlier. Like, what'd you do, Paul?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is the year after I saw him at whatever the hell was Club Nokia back then. They changed the damn name across the street so many friggin' times now. I can't tell you, but
we'll just call it.
That was cool to see not only get to see Pee Wee's come back in person, experience that whole thing, but then see him come into my world, professional wrestling, and do the whole interaction with Rock and Lita. And let's not dispel our girl Buggy either. Buggy loves Pee Wee. So
yes, but I mean, she wasn't
cool
on that show. But Lita, who had already retired, made sure to come back for an appearance so that she could get a couple minutes with Pee Wee,
which was great. So cool to see that.
Number 6 on my list should surprise nobody who knows me. The only surprise is that why don't you have it higher? But when you see my next 5, you'll understand. Like, this was as high as I could rank it realistically. Okay. And that was the Muppets.
Friggin' Miz. Jesus.
Yep. And here we go with another GIF. I mean, we were able to see Sheamus and Beaker together, proving that they're not the same person. I just love watching Sheamus groom Beaker's hair there, and the way Beaker's head is kind of retracted down. Like, what the heck is he doing to me? Why is he touching me? Bunsen, get him away from me before he brogue kicks me.
Personal space. No means no.
But I mean, the Muppets, and everybody knows how much I love The Miz too.
Oh, yeah.
So I just had to go with that picture there.
That's great. And thank you, WWE.com, for that picture, apparently. Thank you.
For the next 2, we're going to step away from the WWE because, believe it or not, other companies had celebrity moments also. I know. My number 5 comes from the very first NWA TNA pay-per-view. Toby Keith, baby.
Ah, yes.
Performing his song courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue.
That's right.
He gets dissed by Jeff Jarrett, which then leads to...
All right. So here's my question on that. First of all, Jeff Jarrett's back on the show. So once again, celebrities in my world.
We're telling you, Connie, where's that endorsement?
Did Toby Keith give Scott Hall to put it over like that? I'm asking the question. Scott's putting that shit over like Rover. He's like, yeah, man. Like, how many Red Solo Cups were involved in that transaction? Just wondering.
Hey, you know what?
Love you, Scott. I know you're clean and sober now, but that shit writes itself.
Hey, yo.
Yeah. You can see, I mean, he's putting it over like he's doing the Razor's Edge on that fool.
Right? Like, he's legit putting it over like the night that Hogan turned heel.
It's like,
dude, it is this guy.
In my head. Oh God, that's wrong. You're wrong for that. But yeah, Toby Keith on TNA was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. And
he came back and he guest hosted an episode of Raw.
He did.
So but it's his TNA involvement in that match, giving that, dare I say, picture perfect suplex. I mean, he stalls Jeff for a minute there before he drops him.
Yeah.
Like, kudos to Toby.
Like I said, he stalls long enough to have Scott Hall probably go like he was the Intercontinental Champion.
Well, and credit to Jarrett, because he was grabbing him with his hand to kind of brace himself for the. But still, like,
hey,
when you can get a non-trained wrestler to execute a suplex that damn good, you know that guys like Taz and Benoit and Guerrero and Angle are over there like, hey, dude, hats off to you, for real.
Golf clap for sure. It's like, all right, yeah, we'll give him that one. There you go. But I will say,
speaking of Angle real quick, I actually contemplated putting him on ECW on here because at that time he was just a celebrity. He hadn't trained.
Right. Well, unfortunately for ECW fans and for Kurt Angle, his involvement that night wasn't all that spectacular.
I
It
know.
was also the crucifixion of the Sandman by Raven, which made him bounce like well, Paul did owe him money. That's a whole other story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you, Paul.
You just used the term bounce talking about ECW. You wrong for that, Granddad.
And Jeff Jarrett learned once and for all, if you're in the Southern Belt, do not mess with celebrities on wrestling shows. Don't do it, Jeff. Otherwise, they'll come into your world and kick your ass.
Although a couple years earlier, coming in at number 4.
Well, no, see,
David Arquette.
and see, look at Jeff. He's pissed. Jeff is morbidly pissed at this one.
Well, who wouldn't be? I mean, you've got a celebrity winning the WCW title. And this has been discussed ad nauseum about how this was one of the final nails in the coffin of WCW.
Which I think is bullshit. But
as a celebrity moment, you can't get much better than a celebrity winning the world title.
No.
I mean, I found a couple of moments that I feel are better.
Right.
But say what you will about Arquette being champion, it did what it was supposed to do. It created water cooler talk. It got ready to rumble over, and it put the celebrity on top of the world for a week, 2 weeks, however it was before the pay-per-view. But
a couple weeks, yeah.
You know, as far as a moment goes, you can't get much better than a celebrity winning the gold.
Well, you said say what you will. First of all, there's two things. Vince Russo said USA Today was a goal. That made USA Today. And then the other thing I'm going to say is Jeff Jarrett's asking Mickey J, what is this guy? What is Dewey coming into my world, winning my world title from? Why is that happening, Mickey? So there you go.
Hey. And like I said, man, there's 3 appearances from Jeff Jarrett. Connie, help a brother out, for real.
Pay it to the order of the Jeff Mitchell Network. Zell is your friend.
Go back into the archives. Look how many times we've put my world over on this show, for real, though. Number three, you know, we said that this is non-WrestleMania moments, and this moment is not from WrestleMania, but it is from WrestleMania Eve. 'Twas the night before WrestleMania 1, and Hulkamania and Mr. T hosted Saturday Night Live.
And they were marvelous.
Yes. Fernando's Hideaway, Billy Crystal there, you know. Again, Billy Crystal later did The Princess Bride with Andre the Giant.
Yep.
So, you know, had to get the picture there of Fernando, Billy Crystal, alongside Hogan and Mr. T. And you look at Fernando, and he's just scared of these muscle-bound behemoths. Mr. T looks like he's trying to do Scott Steiner math, talking about how 2 + 2 is 22, sucker. And Hulk Hogan's just glaring at him like, you say one word, I'm going to bust your ass.
Hogan's arms are bigger than Billy's head.
Legit.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was all his taking his vitamins.
And Billy was saying his prayers, brother.
Seriously.
I will say this. In the category of Kevin Bacon's 6 degrees separation, so they did that appearance. Billy Crystal did a movie later called My Giant about his time with Andre, which was referenced on an episode of Friends when they were in England and Joey was by himself in the hotel room and they were going to watch My Giant. Billy and Robin Williams did an unscripted cameo in Central Perk on Friends.
There you go.
It all ties in together. Just like your story weaving, all comes together, my friend.
Yes. Number 2 on my list, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it was the birth of rock and wrestling. From the brawl to end it all.
You know, I will definitely say that this interaction, Cyndi Lauper involved with the WWF, was definitely the true spawn of the rock and wrestling connection, which led to the cartoon, which led to WrestleMania. And, you know, I'll let you do your thing here because this is your pick, obviously. But I still say How is this lady not in the Hall of Fame, yet the person she got over is in there?
And Mr. T is in there.
Like
everybody else really involved in rock and wrestling is in there, except for Cindy.
Yeah.
And you think about, like, she was on the Brawl to End It All. She was on the War to Settle the Score. She was on WrestleMania. Captain Lou was in Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Captain Lou, Iron Sheik, Roddy Piper were in the Goonies Are Good Enough music video. Like, she did a lot for professional wrestling at that time. And she still has not got the nod. WWE, I know you're watching. When WrestleMania comes to Hollywood, do the right thing and put her in the celebrity wing.
It's very funny you mentioned WrestleMania Goes Hollywood. Let me paint a picture for you here. You were at that WrestleMania in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the Hall of Fame the previous night.
Mm-hmm.
Since the reinstatement of the Hall of Fame, what is the only class, to my knowledge off the top of my head right now, that did not have a celebrity inductee? 2005.
That year.
Which Hogan, Piper, Orndorff, Orton, Mr. T went in later, and his speech is still going on now, 7 years later. But
Sheik, Volkov.
Sheik and Volkov, who won the tag titles at WrestleMania. Jimmy Hart, who was part of the record-setting 27-second match with King Kong Bundy. But no Cyndi Lauper. And you're in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying when WrestleMania goes Hollywood again, not this year, 2022, but next year, 2023, when The Rock will most likely be the headliner, make up for your past sins, WWE, and put Cindy in.
Seriously, put Cindy in, and considering he's the only one that can probably still make a coherent speech and get there on time on both his feet, have Hogan induct her, because Roddy's gone, God love him. Orndorff's gone.
Or Jimmy. Or have Jimmy do it, Jimmy Hart.
If we let Jimmy
Since
do
he was
it,
a musician,
he'll be there to WrestleMania 2033. Let's not get Jimmy wound up, all right?
I'm just saying, since Jimmy was a musician also.
I know. I'm just giving Jimmy a hard time because Jimmy knows I love him.
Dancing.
Yes.
If you know, you know.
She definitely belongs there. And that right there, those two images you put up from the Brawl to End It All definitely are the catalyst, the main reason, because that was the first show that the WWF and MTV put together. Not the War to Settle the Score with Hogan and Piper, not WrestleMania 1, the one that was the end game for that. And it was that bout that was the people, that one that brought the people in the garden, because Moolah lost the title after 28 years. It was huge for Moolah. It was huge for Wendy and for Cindy.
Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper's contribution as a celebrity participant in the world of wrestling, specifically the WWF, should not be ignored after damn near 40 years. And it's ridiculous if they are.
Yeah. Before we get to my number one, I do want to throw out an official honorable mention that came to my head this morning. I don't know why it entered my head, but all of a sudden this morning, I found myself singing The Kings from the WWF Aggression soundtrack.
Oh, man. Wow.
The Run DMC music video, which starred the McMahon-Helmsley era D-Generation X.
Kind of.
As well as special cameo appearance from the Hardy Boys in this scene, jumping off of the scaffolding there.
Yes.
But to have a fully produced music video by the gods of rap music, Run DMC, during the height of the Attitude Era, getting play on MTV, BET. Huge celebrity wrestling moment, in my opinion. And again, it was the DX Army, baby. It was Triple H smashing windows. It was Stephanie McMahon doing her horrid crotch chop. It was Tori, then X-Pac's girlfriend. You know, I believe Pac was in it, at least in the beginning. I don't remember seeing him much throughout the video.
I'm not
And I
sure.
don't really remember seeing the Outlaws too much, but it was at least Hunter and the girls.
Yeah, I don't think Sean and Brian were in it. I think that was after Billy had been excommunicated. After I'm not sure when that song actually debuted. I couldn't tell you exactly.
They were probably, behind the set smoking. If we know them for real back then.
Along with Rob, who wasn't with the company, but he was just there anyway.
But
he was
still,
having
at the very least, you had Triple H, the girls, and you had a cameo from the Hardys, Matt and Jeff,
which
alongside Run DMC. And like I said, they are the gods of rap. You can say what you want about Grandmaster Flash, Curtis Blow, all those old school rappers. Run DMC kicked down the doors and made rap mainstream with their collaboration with Aerosmith. And hip-hop music has just never been the same since then.
No, and when you figure they were at WrestleMania 5, people forget that because that got cut out of a lot of the early VHS releases of that pay-per-view. So you don't see that until you get the network or Peacock. So to have them come back around, 15 years, whatever it was, 10 years later, whatever it was crazy to see them back. That video was awesome. And yes, with all due respect to Hunter, because this is his anniversary of his, comeback or whatever, man, you got to get your wife to do better crotch chops. Oof. Just, and we love Steph. We love that era of Steph, especially.
That was the era of Steph I wanted to wife up for real.
But goddamn, the crotch chops were just horrendous.
Yeah.
I always remember the one she did when she first announced her heel turn on Raw in the red shirt, and she does that, and she gets that pouty face. It's like, oh, one of these things just doesn't belong here. Anyway.
So, if arguably a celebrity winning the world title should be the best moment,
you would think so.
We've got Hulkamania on Saturday Night Live the night before WrestleMania. We've got Cyndi Lauper. What could be better than that? In my personal opinion, and granted, I was alive when it happened, but I was far from a fan when it happened.
Yes.
For me, you've got to go with the David Letterman show.
Oh, wow.
Andy Kaufman and Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh, man. I mean,
how can you get a much better celebrity and wrestling moment than that? I mean, granted, I wasn't a fan back then, but how often were wrestlers appearing on the talk show circuit back then? Probably rare, if at all. Maybe
other than Hogan, they weren't.
Maybe Bruno. Maybe.
Well, you have to remember, Bruno was the world champion in the Northeast region only. And yes, the Tonight Show was in New York at the time, but even he didn't get any time with, at the time, Jack Parr or Steve Allen. But, Hogan only got TV time because he was so big and he was getting over like Rover in Minnesota. And that's when Johnny Carson brought him on. Other than that, there was not wrestling coverage because it was still, it was that hokey non-sport thing.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at Letterman's face, he's clearly clueless of what's going on. He's like, oh,
yeah,
like that's a lawsuit, buddy.
Yeah.
Somebody just knocked somebody out on my show. That's a lawsuit.
And when you figure that they kayfabed the world for 17 years.
Yeah. It wasn't until Man on the Moon that we found out that they were in on it together all along. And I'm sure that's something that Jerry wanted to put in the movie. Very much a la Sean when he came back after his getting right with God. If you're going to do this confidential interview, I have to admit to the screw job.
Yep.
I'm sure it was something Jerry wanted to have put in the movie that they were in on it all along, because there'd always been this conception that Lawler hated Kaufman.
Yeah.
So the world needed to know, now that the story was being told, they were in on it together the whole time.
And when you figure that Andy was kayfabing the world before the world knew what the term kayfabing meant.
Yeah.
Because he kayfabed everybody his whole career.
Pretty much.
He was never a comedian. He was a performance artist. So
yes. Thank you. I was just going to say a performance artist. An Andy Kaufman show was like a box of chocolates. You never knew what you were going to get.
If there was any celebrity more destined to be a wrestling fan and a participant than Andy Kaufman, please name him in the comments over here by me as you're watching this, because I defy you. I do. But that leads me to, if we're talking about celebrities, we got about Hollywood. We got to pay the bills. So when we come back here on the Dads, always on wrestling, after this brief little interlude of what's to come here on the channel, it's my job. I got to follow that. God help me. Oof.
Yep. Call me Shawn Michaels right now. Follow that.
Oh, I'll try. On my list. Again, I'm a fan because I'm a sports guy. I'm a fan because I'm a quasi-football guy. But Kevin Green and WCW just kind of was what it was. May Kevin rest in peace. Let's see. Kevin rest in peace. Randy rest in peace. Gene rest in peace. Flair's liver rest in peace. Randy Anderson rest. God damn, this whole freaking graphics dead. Jesus Christ. Anyway,
Flair's career rest in peace.
What's that?
Said Flair's career rest in peace.
No. Flair's liver rest in peace.
His career too, after the whole Dark Side Wrestling thing came out on the plane ride from hell.
Well, yeah, that's definitely true. And then you've got Hogan, who just keeps on getting through shit pretty much unscathed. God love him. Anyway, and Mongo, poor Mongo. God almighty. I feel so bad for Steve. But anyway, Kevin Green was one of those celebrities / athletes that came into wrestling and really actually did quite a bit and did, dare I say, well. Like, he actually performed pretty well when he was on WCW pay-per-views. He had the appearance there in the upper left with the Mega Powers or the Monster Ranch, whatever the hell they call them in WCW, so they wouldn't get sued, briefly. But then he teamed with Mongo and had the whole Mongo turn the Horseman match. And then the ironic thing was he spent an entire year bitching at Mongo. And then at Slamboree the following year, he teams with Flair and Piper, Horseman and Horseman friend, against the NWO because the NWO. It's like, I know the NWO turned everybody babyface, but Kevin Green took a briefcase outside the head from the Horseman. Can we just stop talking about that for a minute?
I mean, all you have to say about it is the fact that he was in there either across the ring or next to arguably three of the greats from the 80s.
Yeah.
Flair, Mach, and Hogan.
I mean, he was coached by Savage at ringside, so he's involved with Randy, Roddy, Flair, and Hogan throughout his run. And battling or teaming with the Horsemen and battling the NWO. It's like, You can't get more WCW babyface than that. I mean, really. So the fact that it was an outsider, if you will, no, I'm sorry, that's Hall and Nash, a celebrity coming in from the Hollywood or athletic world, he did a great job for himself. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So I was proud. I was proud to be a Kevin Green fan, even though I was for life. It was still cool to cheer on Kevin Green every now and again. All right, I said it was on the list. Do this real quick. There he is, number 9. The Donald buys the flagship. And notice I put the text in the Chucky typeface because that's how I feel. He was a serial killer for anything he touched. So there you go. Anyway, yes, Donald was involved at Raw. He presented, and you know what? It's his fault we have 3-hour Raws, if you really think about it. We can blame him for that. Not AJ Lee, who became the GM. Not Vince, who announced it. No, it's all Donald Trump's fault. We have to deal with that 3rd-hour bullshit every week. Looking at you, Trump. Anyway, if you weren't at Home Alone 2, I would have no use for your damn ass. Anyway, I said what I said.
I was going to say, I mean, he helped a lost kid in New York. Like,
it was his own hotel. They wouldn't let him use it unless he was in the movie. He's a selfish prick. All right, anyway. Do not get me going, Jay. It's a new year, damn it. I'm trying to behave.
And then he was in The Little Rascals as the rich kid's father. Like,
you're not helping yourself or him. That was the one time I wanted to beat that little kid in the face. He was really cute on Full House, but I wanted to smack that kid in his head in the Little Rascals movie because he was taking Darla away from Alfalfa. Little spoiled little shit. And no wonder. Look who his dad is. And he still had worse hair than the kid, which was a feat to behold in that movie. He had worse hair than Alfalfa. Anyway, all right, I'm done. I promise, maybe. All right.
Did he have worse hair than Buckwheat?
Yes. The original Buck. He had worse hair than Eddie Murphy Buckwheat, and they shot that fool. All right, anyway. All right. Are you good now? You got me upset about Donald Trump on my first show.
You know what? I was just
right.
I said that you could say what you wanted to say about him during my little dissertation, but then you ended up keep being quiet. So I'm just letting you get it out here, okay?
Okay, good.
I'm feeding the system so you can get it out.
Yeah. I got 360 something days to go here in this friggin' year. I got to behave here. Okay, but I will say this, like you said, regardless of what he does outside of that little WWE bubble he likes to live in with McMahon and, buddy with him.
And even the Hollywood bubble, because as much as you gave him crap for it, his movie cameos usually are entertaining.
Yes. Well, again, I'm going to put him over in wrestling. Let me do that. Okay, thank you.
I'm the movie guy, so you know.
I always enjoyed when he came around in wrestling. Again, prior to his getting involved in the direct running of this country, I didn't have a real problem with the celebrity appearances of Donald Trump. And in wrestling especially, like you said, the WrestleManias at Trump Plaza were a spectacle. They were these little bitty little convention halls, but they looked like, big, gigantic superstar things because they were. It was WrestleMania. So, it was the mega powers, it was the tournament, it was everything. So him hosting it definitely helped at a time where how can you go higher than 93,000, 78,000 really people? You have to present like it's different. Again, we're going to go back to Connie here. Eric Bischoff, not better than, can't go less than, you have to be different than. If you go from a big, gigantic 100,000 people stadium to a little bitty convention hall, you got to pull up Paul Heyman, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives. We've got this many people, big production. Trump was all about that production, still is to this day. So, got to give him his props. All right, I'm done praising his ass. Very good. All right, number 8 is another guy who is in the Hall of Fame. I don't know why. He literally made one appearance on the show. Only on one show. It wasn't like he was on Raw to promote him being there. It wasn't like he was on Raw after to talk about having been there. Mother Effer was on one show. And he makes the Hall of Fame. And why, you ask? Because he's everybody's favorite little Cleveland comedian, Drew Carey at the Royal Rumble. Like, again, I don't like it personally, but it's a big moment. You know, you've got the star of one of the biggest shows on television at that point. You know, he's got Who's Line, he's got the Drew Carey show. He had that pay-per-view the following Saturday. I couldn't tell you what the hell it was called. Celebrity All-Stars, some stupid shit, whatever. But he was at the Royal Rumble to promote it. Happened upon Trish and her Stratus and got talked into being in the match because Vince is a master manipulator like that. And, you know, God forbid anybody get up on the Trish Stratus space at that point in Vince's life, because no, only Vince gets to go into the stratosphere back then.
Well, Vince knew that if Drew was in the Rumble, it would get media press. By getting media press, it would help his pay-per-view the following week. Right. Which, if I remember correctly, was supposed to be like a pay-per-view version of Who's Line.
Yeah, it was one of those celebrity improv all-stars or something to that effect, where, like you said, it was
some extra celebrities, a little bit more risque, what they can't do on TV.
Right.
But it was basically a pay-per-view version of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Which,
you know,
if you see
China
the Rob Williams
episode on Third Rock.
I mean, if you watch the Rob Williams appearance on Whose Line, you can't get more rich than that without, okay, we have to write NC-17, put it on pay-per-view, because Robin's going to get us in a bad place here. So, but again, Drew Carey being the moment is hysterical. He eliminates the Hardys and celebrates the fact that he does it. Whatever. They eliminate each other, which is great. Kane comes out. Good thing Drew's wearing dark pants, like JR said, because he always said that when it came to the people getting scared. Raven, of all people, saves Drew Carey from a choke slam by hitting Kane in the back with, I think it was a broom. I could be, it may have been some sort of other kind of stick, but I'm pretty sure it was a broom. And then Drew, to his credit, jumped over. Well, he didn't really jump. He kind of waddled over the top rope and then got down nice and softly. But
he Kevin Nashed it without tearing his quads. I said what I said, damn it.
You did. You said what you said. But yeah, I just like the fact that I was able to say Cleveland rocks in the Big Easy, because like 3 people and no DQ will get a kick out of that, and that's okay with me. So Cleaver, Colin, Andrew, Virtue, I'm with you, brothers. That's your boy. That's your boy. The same city that now has the Cleveland Guardians. Congratulations, boys. Okay. Anyway, moving right along. But what's even greater is they have a name, and the Washington football team still doesn't. Anyway, because they suck worse. Okay. Anyway, I'm just picking everybody now. All right. So number 7. Okay. Number 7 I actually enjoyed. So, you know, growing up, when we grew up, you know, there was one definitive action movie star, almost a live action hero, you could call him, if you will. You know, nowadays for our kids, that guy's, well, The Rock. it's Dwayne now. So but back in the 90s and 80s, it was the Terminator. And on SmackDown, early on in SmackDown's run, it was the Terminator who played the game, and he won because he done smacked Triple H down at the announce table. And no, he didn't win the WWF Championship. They're not WCW. We'll get there in a little while. That was a belt that Vince McMahon actually presented Arnold on SmackDown. You'll notice the WWF logo is the old block. I legit think that is the belt they first presented Steve Austin when he became champion in '98, and they just had it, you know, because God forbid Vince spend any extra money to get the extra belt made. Now, God, now they print belts like they're freaking, you know, Tic Tacs to give to these teams that win the Super Bowl or the World Series or whatever. But back then, oh no,
I believe Vince called him the box office heavyweight champion.
And what's even funnier, he was an investor in Planet Hollywood, was he not?
Yeah, him, Stallone, and Willis.
So Vince donated the no holds barred version of the WWF Championship belt to the original Planet Hollywood. So I think Vince, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Kyron Thompson are competing for belt backdrops on their shows at this point. So just throwing it out there. Another plug for Conrad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I mean, you know, go back to that image real quick. Like I said, I think Vince called that the box office heavyweight championship. You know, and you can argue if you want, but there really was no bigger action hero than Arnold.
Oh, no.
You know, like you said, you got the Terminator, you've got Conan the Barbarian, you've got Predator, you've got Commando, you've got, you know, all the great action movies. And then as it got later in the 90s, they kind of weren't as great.
No.
Eraser, End of Days. But this was like right before he became the Governator.
Yes.
Like, that's how close we were. This was, like you said, SmackDown infancy. I want to say August of 99.
Yeah, this is like
He
September,
become
October,
governor. Yeah. I want to say like early 2000. So it was like right there on the cusp.
Yeah.
From action hero to politics.
Yep.
It was a great time in Arnold's career, like a big transition.
Yes. You forgot the transition when the movie started to go decline. You forgot Terminator Part 468, Rise of the Machines Part 2. You know, that one was, later on.
I stopped counting Terminators after Terminator 3.
Yeah, and 3 was even like...
Yeah, 3 was questionable.
Do you know how I remember that movie the most? When Conan O'Brien was still doing the celebrities where they had the lips of somebody else. They had Arnold pop in via satellite and like 400 times on one clip. Never saw the movie, but I remember that clip from Conan O'Brien. The only reason I wanted to see the next one was because of Kristen Loken.
Yeah.
Kristen and are all together.
Yeah, that was part 3.
Indeed. All right, there you go.
And then you mentioned how The Rock is today's action hero for our kids, you know.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll get more in depth into it when we talk about this in May, but The Rundown.
Yeah.
You know, you had that scene very early in the movie where Schwarzenegger passes Rocky and gives him like a good luck.
Yep.
And that was the whole passing of the guard right there, passing of the torch. That was the Hogan slamming Andre. That was the Rock Hogan moment. That was the Rock Cena comeback. That was that passing of the guard.
Yes. It was definitely the Hogan slamming Andre and the Rock and Hogan moment. Yes, without question. Yes. All right. So we're going to move on now. Damn it. I hate the WrestleMania so much on levels except for the Hell in a Cell match. Anyway, so number 6, I mentioned it was going to make the list. It's retrospectively making my list now. I look back, it's too late because I already put my list in. It should be higher and it should be a different moment. But I did want to bring up Jim Carrey bringing Andy back to wrestling because he really did. You know, people thought for many years until the next part of it came out, which was the documentary talking about Jim and Andy, the collaboration, if you will, between the two souls, and the fact that, his beef with Lawler was also kayfabe, which is like, okay, Andy, enough. But this was great. You got, Jim Carrey doing the Mighty Mouse shtick and the Tony Clifton shtick, but I mean, there it is right there. You've got Jim Ross, who is playing Lance Russell, even though Lance Russell's in the movie. Okay. Never understood that ever. Just never got that. But yeah, Jim Carrey getting involved with the wrestlers. Lawler was there, Ross was there, the Cat was there. You had it at the Olympic, which you were at, dude. You got to see that match be filmed and unfold before your eyes in front of a venue that is near and dear to every Angelino's heart as far as sports and entertainment, man. It's a great little venue, man. My dad always talks about Dick Vale back in the day, calling the action at the Olympic. Lou Thez defending the world title there, so it's.
And I'm not the only Jeff Meacham Network affiliate that was there that day.
I know
that boy was sitting right next to me.
I know. So I'll have to give him proper shit once again on Tuesday. So there you go. But it was a cool thing to have the Andy Kaufman story back in the wrestling forefront and on a much bigger stage. Because you think about it, yes, they were on Late Night with David Letterman, which was a huge show back in 1984, whatever it was. They actually, maybe 82, they actually appeared on the show itself. But you factor in the global presence of the WWF at the time, the global platform they had. The Andy story reached a much bigger audience, which was cool for Milos Forman and the movie and the Kaufman family. It was very cool to see that kind of explode again. That's how I really, really got into Andy, was through Man on the Moon. So it's cool to see that story. And then, go on to, old Comedy Central episodes of, Andy talking about the wrestling and the people from Memphis. That if you ever found that on Comedy Central back in the day, you had struck gold, brother, because it was classic stuff. No censors, no beeping at 2 a.m., folks. This is ECW style. So great stuff.
Yeah, I got into Andy for really hardcore through Man on the Moon as well. I mean, I had seen Taxi on Nick at Night, and I had already adored that. Yes. Because I mean, you just look at the all-star cast there. I mean, Danny DeVito, Christopher Lloyd, Tony Danza, guys that I grew up with in the 80s. I mean, you've got the Penguin, you've got Who's the Boss, and you've got Dr. Emmett L. Brown. Just throwing that out there, amongst their many other roles. And then there's this goofy little nasally, thank you very much. And you're like, what the hell? And then you watch Man on the Moon and you learn how that was just all shtick.
Right.
And all gimmick. And again, he got it. He understood the science behind the gimmick.
Yep.
To the fact where him and Lawler were able to fool the world, like you said, for 17 years.
And like I said, the fact that Jim and Jerry fooled the world for how long before the documentary came out on Netflix?
And then to be part of it.
Right.
Because in between the shooting, they would be riffing on each other back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember the very first time they clapped the clapper and called action. The entire Olympic auditorium started. Andy. Cut. Guys, I know that you guys are like big Jim Carrey fans. Jim Carrey's the bad guy here. If you're going to cheer, you need to cheer for Jerry, not Andy. Take two. Jerry. But just the fact that everybody was so jazzed to be there that a Andy chant was able to get started. And you figure most of the extras that are in camera range are Hollywood actors, probably not the biggest wrestling fans.
Right.
But there was this swell that was able to rise in that Olympic that made them call cut.
Probably the same guy that started the chant that got our camera broken on XMV back in 2004. Probably the same person. Anyway,
I can neither confirm nor deny that, but
I can confirm that you're denying. It's okay. Anyway, all right. Number 5 is definitely the most recent one on my list, without question. It's happened within the last, 6 years now, if you combine both appearances. The Arrow takes aim at pro wrestling. Stephen Amell appearing at SummerSlam, teaming with the man who is now once again the man that gravity forgot, Pac, although he's just a bastard now rather than the man that gravity forgot. But we knew him win, damn it, against Stardust, which, there you go, and King Barrett. In the category of failed gimmicks, Stephen Amell is the one that didn't. For crying out loud. And then you've got him, becoming part of the Bullet Club and having his own t-shirt there, the Vigilante Club, which I thought was great. And basically becoming part of Cody's entourage and being a featured part of All In, which led to, of course, the creation of AEW, and facing a guy who we both know very well and love near and dear to our hearts. I'm so glad I got to see him back in October on the Jericho Cruise and reacquaint, because honestly, last time I'd seen Chris, he and I were like kind of salty for reasons unknown. I don't know what happened, but it took that space and time not seeing each other. Like, oh, hey, man. And it was, we were buddy again, but it was really great to see Stephen Amell, who, if you're a DC fan, which I'm not a DC Universe fan, I should be, damn it. But to see him cross over into wrestling more than once for more than one company was really cool in the last few years. Because, correct me if I'm wrong here, even though WWE's been more of a Hollywood presence the last couple decades, it seems like to me the last few years, it's kind of been like, oh, it's wrestling again. Like it's one of those like people's nose up in the air. And Steven went, ironically enough, all in and was like, he jumped full face first, man. Like, all right, let's do this. And he was into it. He did great at SummerSlam. We can see a lot. It was the first one they went back to Brooklyn, damn them, which I found it great that the Hollywood actor guy was in the Brooklyn show. It's like, he couldn't have moved it back here. And then, for him to be a featured player and for Cody to include him in a show that Cody, Matt, and Nick literally bet everything they had on that show. And they made it a point to have Stephen Amell be part of it. Not the Arrow, not some costumed whatever. Stephen effing Amell faced Christopher Daniels.
Yep.
And again, you hand the celebrities, you hand the outsiders to people will take care of them. Is there anybody more classically trained and schooled and knows what the hell they're doing in Southern California wrestling, especially, than Christopher Daniels? I don't think so.
Nah.
The fact that he's, talent relations for AEW, the fact that he's a coach for AEW now, the fact that you can pull him out on the cruise for 4 nights and have him wrestle matches of the night each night, damn near. The guy,
Christopher Daniels is one of those guys. Christopher Daniels is one of those guys you can put in the ring with a broomstick, and the broomstick will get inducted in the Hall of Fame because of the matches he had with Christopher Daniels.
Hell, if Coco were going to be in the Hall of Fame, so can the broom, damn it. Anyway, never not pick on Coco. Anyway, but yeah, Stephen Amell, it's one of those where he's the cool, like he's the complete opposite of the Boy Scout and the wisecracking Flash. He's like dead serious. Oliver Queen's gonna whoop that ass. Like he's just like dead serious. So he's the cool DC hero. He's not quite as cool as Bruce Wayne because Bruce Wayne's Batman, for crying out loud. But the Arrow's right there, and it was cool to have him be part of my world for a little bit of time.
I mean, without the success of the Arrow, we could not have had the Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline.
Nope.
That played out a couple of years ago, to where we had, all these heroes from other timelines. I mean, you had Smallville back. Yeah. You had Brandon Routh back as Superman.
Yep.
You just all this stuff that you never thought you would see.
I'll go you one further and say, without the Arrowverse, there wouldn't be this movie coming up, or it might be already out now. I forgot when it came out. But, the Flash crossover with Michael Keaton's Batman coming back, damn it. Without the Crisis on Infinite Earth, you don't have that kind of crossover on feature films.
No.
And that all ties back to Arrow being such a damn big success that it was. So, number 4. Ties back to what you see behind me, kind of. Because it wasn't Johnny Carson's involvement in wrestling that is my number 4. It was his successor. Jay Leno and his battles with the NWO. So, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. Because this is a mess. So, first of all, top left, you've got Jay Leno and his chin in between the NWO and DDP and Karl Malone as they were approaching Bash at the Beach 98, right? Paige is friends with Leno. Paige is friends with Malone. So, Jay's trying to keep the peace on his show because it's just getting crazy. Bottom left, no, that's not NWO Nightcap, kids. That is legitimately the Tonight Show stage. And that is Eric Bischoff with his feet up on Jay Leno's desk and Hollywood Hogan in the guest chair going, that's right, bitches.
Randy Orton pose.
That's right. Oh, yes. Yeah, Hogan doing Hogan things there. You know, getting ready for that Randy Orton feud 8 years early.
Yep.
Already stealing his shit. You know, Randy Orton was a freaking fetus at that point in the Marines, having not yet defected. Anyway, Jerry, that was for you, Jerry. Anyway, and then of course you've got the moment in Sturgis where Leno's like, "I'm in the ring, and Hogan's head's somehow bigger than my chin. What I get myself into here?" What you don't see, and what I failed to screen cap, was the moment that was on every damn newspaper cover the following day. Jay Leno having the arm bar on Hulk Hogan in the middle of a ring. It's like,
arm bar.
Yeah, that's our biggest star, and a guy that is like had one set of training more than Rodman, maybe less than Rodman, and he's oof. It depending on which documentary you watch, it's either the greatest thing that happened to WCW or the worst thing that happened to WCW. But you know what?
Accurate.
Newspaper headlines.
Yep.
NBC coverage for like 3 months.
Just to show how important this was number 11 for me. Like this almost cracked my list.
So
I was seriously contemplating it, but I knew it was NWO related. It was Hogan related. Jeff would have this.
Funny you should have that segue for me, Jay. Thank you. In the category of Hogan related, I have one word for you at number 3. Zeus.
Okay.
I know it's Friday.
Before you
ain't got shit to do. You ain't got no kids, but he ain't Debo yet, y'all.
Before you go on your diatribe, I just have one thing I have to ask.
Yes.
What in the flying fuck is that headdress that Jesse is wearing?
You answer your own question. It's Jesse Ventura in '89. There you go.
It looks like he jacked Stevie Wonder for that shit.
No. You know what happened? I'll tell you what happened. What happened was Jesse saw into the future and saw that he had ripped off superstar Billy Graham. Hogan ripped both of them off. And then Scott Steiner ripped all of them off. So Jesse knew that Steiner would have that hideous headdress. So Jesse's like, all right, I got to get a jump on this shit. Anyway, we all know the story of Tiny Lister, Tom Lister, portraying Zeus in the movie No Holds Barred. That's your upper left. It is what it is. The upper right is Mean Gene around. You know what's really frightening about this whole thing? Both panels with Randy Savage, everybody in the panel's dead. God almighty. And the one shot is them around a cauldron. It's like, that's probably not a good look for me. And looking back and making this collage, the fact that the 4 dead people are around a cauldron. Anyway, I'm going to hell. Woohoo! Yeah, I'll go with Zeus to hell. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, then he's a SummerSlam against Hogan and Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake. There you go, Connor's another one for you. Then the dreaded steel cage match, No Holds Barred, the match, the movie, which is still not on the network because it shouldn't be. It's that bad. The match is terrible. The movie is what it is. I got the movie on bootleg years ago at a Battleground show, and I refused to buy it on regular Blu-ray because it's just that atrocious. And it's a Hulk Hogan movie, y'all. Anyway, once the whole Savage thing fizzled out, he was on DiBiase's $1 Million Team or whatever the team name was in '89. Hence the picture with DiBiase and Big Papa Dump there, Jesse Ventura, whatever the hell you want to call him. Yeah. So Zeus being involved. Zeus was the first real celebrity crossover that really committed to the gimmick and committed to being on TV all the time. It was awesome. It was funny as hell look back on this shit now, however many years, 20-something, almost 30 years later. But yeah, God bless Debo on a Friday. Got to give him his props.
You know what? I will never have an unkind thing to say about Tiny Lister.
Nope.
Number one, because if I did, he would have whooped the shit out of me.
True
but
that.
Number two, I mean, everything I have ever seen him do, he was so entertaining. And I wish I could have met him.
Yep.
Because from everything I have seen of him outside, behind the scenes, he's a gentle giant.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So to have been able to meet him, that would have been like a huge feather in the cap for me. I would have loved to have seen that. But
it really would have been a cool thing for us, and especially for you because of the Friday movies and everything you saw him in, me because of associated with Hulkamania. That would have been a really cool feather in our dad's cap for sure. All right, sticking with Hogan here for one more. I promise this is the last one with Hogan because we're at number 2. So let's just throw it up there. Dennis Rodman, Rodzilla, doubles because he was already the original bad boy of Hollywood, the original bad boy of athletics, but now he's at the NWO. And I picked these graphics for reasons. Bottom right, because we used it once before, and I just love that. I love that picture of Planet Hollywood. Again, we're talking about Planet Hollywood with Schwarzenegger against. There you go. I used the upper left and the bottom left because of Hogan and his ridiculous pursed lips in the pictures. I thought it was hysterical. He looked so goofy looking that I had to just throw it in there. And the upper right is that GIF that goes around every NWO GIF post ever where, they're going for life and Nash is going, Rodman! Like he's had a few too many of the freaking locos in the back there with the ICP or some shit. So, yeah, this just tremendous stuff there. But, again, you talk about commitment. This fool done missed practice for the NBA Finals.
Yep.
To be at Nitro.
Phil Jackson, no less.
Phil Jackson done find his ass. And he was like, okay. The original plan.
Hey, Eric, New Year. I just got fined for missing practice. You think you can cover that for me?
That works for me, brother. And then you've got the fact that New Year's Evil, the original plan, was a combination of a Kiss concert and the divorce, not the wedding, but the divorce of Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra. That was actually a thing on the docket for that pay-per-view. Is there any more commitment to a product than getting your ass divorced on global pay-per-view? I don't think so. Like, damn it, Dennis.
And let me just, not to crap on Rodman, because I always kind of was a Rodzilla fan.
There you go.
Like, my dad would always talk down on Rodman because of his look and his attitude.
Yeah.
But being a, can't say a teen, but being like in my 20s during the time, like, I got it.
Yeah.
But Dennis, why in the hell would you cheat on, get divorced from Carmen Electra in the 90s? Dude, come on. That was like one of those be-all, end-alls for us in the 90s. Like, legit. It was Pamela Anderson, Jenny McCarthy, and Carmen Electra.
Mackenzie Aston got to bone her as the aliens picked to propagate the species. How are you divorcing that? What's wrong with you? Damn it, Dennis.
Drugs.
Well, no, you know what? Honestly, at that point, I think it was the fact that Randy turned him over in a porta potty in Sturgis just totally effed his mind up. Anyway. All right. We've had some pretty crappy porta potty reference picks here. But I'm gonna blow y'all's mind here right now. I'm gonna have several Conrad references here in a moment, so bear with me here. All right,
here we go.
So we mentioned Jeff Jarrett and the look on his face when Mickey J is in the picture holding David Arquette's hand up as the world champion. Well, here's the money shot, and not only is it the shot, but it's the logo that Eric Bischoff calls the exploding vagina logo from WCW. Okay. That's how bad this thing was. It happened on Thunder, which is the freaking D show of wrestling at this point. It only wasn't the D show because Saturday Night done got canceled already. And it's that god-awful logo they'd used for a year that Bischoff and his 83 Weeks people, including Conrad, crap on constantly. But you said it yourself when you made it your number 4. Is there any bigger celebrity moment in professional wrestling than the celebrity becoming the world heavyweight champion? you literally wrote my copy for me, so thank you for that. It shit writes itself. You had the celebrity involvement become the world champion. Now, to everybody out there that'll say that, well, they don't say this is the worst WWE Championship reign of all time because they get it. But to everybody that does say that, I have 2 words for you in Paul Heyman speak. Vince freaking Russo, okay? Seriously. Vince Russo was the world champion. Yes, he's world champion for only a week. He never defended it like David Arquette did. David Arquette not only defended it, he successfully defended it on TV. So poop in your hat there, Russo. But David Arquette being the champion, whatever you got a guy that, weighs about as much as my left thigh weighs right now, fat ass holiday, post holiday weight, but coverage, mainstream media coverage, the movie got more sales than they intended, quite frankly, because that movie was god awful. It still is god awful, but it's still one of the greatest, worst things of all time. So, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. We talked about this last year when we talked about the worst world champions. We ripped on the Vinces. We did, deservedly, because neither one of those reigns did anything for anybody except themselves. David Arquette's reign as champion got WCW coverage in the mainstream media. It got them their movie to sell more tickets. It got a pay-per-view to get covered by more than just the peripheral wrestling media, as Eric Bischoff calls it. And David Arquette donated his winnings, or his winnings. Wow, like he's actually a prize fighter. Wow. Good night, Jeff.
His
paychecks to the families of Owen and Pillman and Duncan Jr. So there you go. And Droz, I heard too, if I remember speak right, all right, because he was a fan of Droz too. So again, you wrote my copy for me. There is no bigger celebrity thing than winning a world title. So I appreciate the help. And if you agree with me or you disagree with me, and you haven't let us know already over there next to Jay, let us know, folks. If you're watching after dinner, or you're watching after we are live, and you're watching on demand, and you're commenting down below, we thank you for tuning in to us after dinner, because Lord knows we're going to make you puke. So God love you for that.
He's gonna puke. He's gonna puke.
So I can't wait to do the rest of the year. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. I'm very excited about the year 2022 for us as the dads. Not always on wrestling.
Quite a bit of stuff in the pipeline. We've got a whole month of Dwayne Johnson coverage coming in May for his 50th birthday. We've got top 10 Eagles songs in the pipeline later in the year, which I know you're going to love.
Yes.
And some people may wonder why we're doing that. Well, I know down the road we're going to be doing the Beatles, so I had to give Jeff his favorite band of all time.
Not only that, but the thing was, I was thinking about doing the Beatles on the heels of the Jackson documentary, and you advised me not to watch it when we talked about this. I did watch it, and I was like, yeah, we need to let that kind of die down, because it was rough. It was a lot of cool footage, but it was not what I expected. So covering the Eagles this year is great, and then we'll do the Beatles next year. I'm totally down on that.
We've got top 10 baseball players. We've got top 10 X Division champions,
which doesn't get talked about anymore. And I love that.
We're going to do the top 10 incarnations of the Four Horsemen. And yes, there have been 10 incarnations. Yes. We're not going to have individual lists for that one. No. We've just collaborated to come up with one list. And we're just going to run through our picks for the top 10 incarnations of the Horsemen. And we're both going to give our thoughts on each version, pros, cons.
Romas.
Yeah, I was going to say there's probably going to be a whole lot of crapping on Paul Roma. But
let me just say this. This is like PWI 500, where if you're 500, you're the worst, because there's more than 500 wrestlers in the world. there is a definitive worst version of the Four Horsemen. And I will give you this spoiler. All the way, here we are, 10 months beforehand. It is not the Paul Roma version.
That's right. Ooh, what could it be?
Intrigue.
You'll have to tune in to find out. And then
buy the book by Dick Bourne. Good stuff.
And then you've got to be wondering, what are we going to be doing for Christmas? We've already done Christmas movies, Christmas songs, Christmas specials. We are going to do the top 10 portrayals of jolly old Saint Nick, Kris Kringle, Santa Claus.
And yes, honorable mention will be Jeff Meacham on every no DQ thing ever.
Oh,
because it ain't gonna make the top 10, folks.
But that's just a taste of some of the stuff we've got coming.
Yes.
You know, do you guys have any topics you want us to get into? Do you guys have any specific wrestlers that you want us to get down and dirty and talk about their top 10 matches? Let us know, please, because we may have the year booked, but we're always looking to get a jump on the following year.
And just because the year is booked does not mean it's not a fluid moving list either. If we get something from one of y'all that makes us go, we got to do that one now.
Very easily can be altered.
Yes.
I've actually got a idea for a topic that I want to throw out to Jeff, but I'll do that off camera. Something I've been thinking about the last couple days. But again, topics, tweet them to us at ROWJJ Williams, at _ Jeff Meacham. Put them in the comments over here if you're watching live, down here if you're watching via Memorex. Let us know.
We definitely want to hear from you guys. We are an interactive channel. We always have been,
always will be.
We always will be. And you know, when we get JJ back, I'm assuming after right at the same time Ring of Honor comes back, first quarter's over. We'll see. We'll see how we get him back.
My goal is to be back live on April 1st.
There you go. That's not an April Fool's joke. There you go, brother. I love that.
That is not an April Fool's joke. I am 100% serious on it. Got to make sure people don't get suspect there.
That's going to be a cool day because we get you back. We get Ring of Honor back at the Supercard of Honor, which is booked. And that's also WrestleMania weekend. So it's going to be a gangbusters weekend. No question about it. But again, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for making my third year starting off on such a high note. Been a fun week. But with that, he is the Renegade. I'm the Professor. We will see you guys in 2 weeks right here on the Dads. Not always on wrestling.